So today this is a culmination of a 2.5-year project on multi-species swards, a European Innovation Partnership project, and it has really been quite the journey. Now, multi-species swards can divide opinion. For some, they are a panacea. They answer many problems. For others, they are new age nonsense. But in reality, while they are new to us, they aren't really that new at all. If you look back at a seed, from my own farm, from seed receipts from the 1930s and so on, it really isn't. They weren't millions of miles off a multi-species swords. So, is it an old technology for a new challenge? Are we going back to the future now? And what can these new sword types offer us today? And I thought it might be good. You're going to hear some very up-to-date research today, but actually, one of the prized family possessions I have is this notebook from my great uncle who did a night class in agriculture in Grey Abbey in 1921. And in it, you'll find the results of a project that wasn't called multi-species, but it wasn't far off it in those days. So I'm going to show you some very, very old research here now. This is an experiment carried out on a farm in County Down in 1914, 1 acre sowing out. So on the left, you can see we have a smorgasbord of perennial ryegrass, cocksfoot, timothy, fescue, mud, foxtail, perennial red, which in reality is what we would today call red clover, and wild white clover. Now, quite a high seed rate there. That cost the princely sum of 43 shillings an acre, which in today's money is about £204. So certainly not cheap. Then you had the bargain basement yellow pack one on the right, which was just perennial ryegrass and what they called red clover, which today we would call crimson clover. And that was way less than half the price at 14 shillings and 6 per acre, which is £69 in today's money. So obviously, if you're a farmer and you're saying, good grief, that's when money was money, it's going to cost me an extra £140 an acre. I'd rather go for the cheap one. And obviously today, we would tend to go for mainly a perennial only grass. So on this 1 acre, they sowed it in 1914. Then in 1915, so this experiment goes right through World War I and beyond. They did the yield of hay. So what we'll call the multi-mix did 56 hundredweight and 1/4 of hay. Which in modern parlance is 2.86 ton. The perennial mix just did 44 hundredweight, so a 27.5% difference. Then they had sheep on the aftermath, and then sheep for the subsequent 3 years after that, right up to 1918. And as you can see, each year the multi-mix performed considerably better with basically 53% more lamb weight over that time. Then in 1919, the field was ploughed and sown with oats. This was quite common those days. And even then, following on after that, you can see again considerably higher yield of grain and a much, much higher yield of straw in the following crop of oats. So that was just showing what it was. Now, even it goes further, and modern scientists take note because we actually have an economic appraisal at the end of this. So in terms of the difference in mutton value, maybe Wayne actually is going to come at me now because they're showing a price from 100 years ago, but in those days the mutton was 9 pence a pound or 7.84 a kilo in today's money. So there was extra £9 and 8 shillings for it. The difference in hay was worth £1 and 16 shillings. The difference in grain was worth £5 13 shillings, and the difference in straw was worth £3 and 10 shillings. So the total difference from all of that was £20 £8 shillings and twopence, which is over £1,900 today. Now, all of a sudden, that extra cost of the seed at £1, 8 shillings and 6 doesn't look so good, and left you with a clear margin of £18, 19 shillings and 8 or £1,800 a day. And the interesting thing in my great uncle's notebook was they actually talked about, and this is a very novel concept where we link the value of land to its productive capacity, and that's something we seem to have gotten away from now. But the benefit over 5 years, increased value of land, was getting close to £4 per acre, or £360 per day. So, as I said, there is nothing new in this. Charles Darwin first identified overyielding back in 1858. And like heterosis, in breeding, where we cross two different breeds and the average of those breeds is greater, the genetic potential of that offspring is greater than the average of the parents. Overyielding is the same. The average of the yield of the mixed is greater than the average of the monocultures. However, with the advent of perennial ryegrass and the Haber-Bosch process and modern fertilizers, nothing could keep up with them. And the interest in all the other grasses, and indeed clovers we used to have, dropped away, and perennial ryegrass became dominant, with the odd bit of token white clover put in. So why even consider moving away from what has been the bedrock of our agricultural systems for the last 40 years, perennial ryegrass and about 200 kilos of nitrogen? It's pretty bomb-proof, it's pretty idiot-proof. Perennial ryegrass is a thoroughbred. It needs fed and watered. There is an increasing cost of manufactured fertilizer, albeit it has come back down again. There's increased, more extreme weather events, and perennial ryegrass does not react just so well to those. It easily gets stressed, lowering grass quality. And a monoculture can also be a green desert. It delivers very little extra in terms of biodiversity benefits. And biodiversity brings resilience. And we've seen that looking at the soil structures of many of our multi-species, the increased soil health, soil condition in every sense. And I think it's, again, today, for many years, maximization agriculture was paid you very, very well. But are we at a stage today where it's actually more about optimization and resilience to the shocks that come away, whether they're weather shocks, price shocks, disease shocks, whatever? How do we build resilient systems? So I think that's why there is now increasing interest in the multi-species mixes. I would like to thank a lot of people and a lot of projects that help us get here today. I would very much like to acknowledge the Super G project and our colleagues in ADAS, because they very much started on this journey, and we've been working with colleagues right across Europe who've also been exploring these novel mixes. So I'd like to acknowledge them for the seed corn and getting this going. I'd also like to acknowledge DERA and EU funding for this European Innovation Partnership project. Without it, it wouldn't have been possible. Particular thanks to our 6 farmers for complete unbridled enthusiasm and commitment and taking a leap of faith with us. They've really driven us on the journey. And I'd also like to thank our colleagues in AFPI, Francis Lively, David Patterson, Denise Lowe, and our Queen, and Nigel Scotland at Queen's, who have really been with us on this journey and partnered up with us. So a big thanks to all of them, because this really was a team effort right across the whole piece.